And now we have the Unibet Premier League preview with Phill and Paul.
Paul, thanks for joining us again.
Thanks for having me again.
6 weeks in, and what an unbelievable spectacle we've had so far for darts.
Yeah, it's been rather unpredictable so far, with a lot of twists and turns, and I think people who have been betting with Unibet the last few weeks have probably had a few wins and losses, but I like the fact it's been a bit unpredictable because the field has been a little bit different. Obviously, the moving on from Phil Taylor era hasn't disappointed, and I think there's a lot more to come.
I'd say just the eye-catching graphics now that Unibet have delivered this year have escalated the Premier League again. It's been unbelievable to look at.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the Premier League since it started was that it started small and then it got bigger, and now it's getting even bigger again, obviously with things changing and not being able to go to Exeter, for instance. That just adds another little bit of spice to it because we're going to go to Rotterdam twice. Yeah. So does that open the possibility in the future to potentially do double headers and shorten the season? I don't know, but I like the fact that things are slightly different now. No,
definitely. After 6 weeks, MVG is top, as most of us predicted, but it's not been plain sailing for him.
No, it hasn't. He had a very, very good game against Peter Wright in Cardiff, which is arguably the best game that we've seen this season. But he didn't win that game, and as a consequence, that's you find Michael Van Geren's top of the league, but Peter's in the bottom two, even though he's beaten Michael. It's just one of those seasons where things feel a little bit strange, but the table is definitely telling the story.
No, definitely. So I don't think any of us saw Michael Smith or Simon Whitlock being in the top four after 6 weeks. A lot would tip them to be in the bottom two.
Yeah, I think Michael Smith's second season in the Premier League is definitely coming to fruition a little bit better. His experience of going to these big arenas and his further experience as a professional has definitely helped him. He just looks a bit more relaxed with the atmosphere and everything that comes with Premier League darts. He's a definite Premier League player, and even he's admitted to me when I was working with the radio coverage that he still hasn't even played that well, and he found himself top of the league at one point but bottom of the averages.
Yeah, as I say, he's almost found a way to win ugly, which he struggled before. The eye-catching games he could win for fun, where the nitty-gritty ones he'd lose, but now he's turned that round.
Absolutely right. He never was the kind of person who would, in football terms, go out and win 1-0. He was a 5 or 6-0 guy, and when he was in an ugly game, he would get disinterested. But now he's found a way to win different ways, and that's just made him an even better player. But Whitlock was a surprise for the first few weeks. It'd be interesting to see how he progresses in the next few weeks, because he was in a very interesting draw with Daryl Gurney, which for me was the game of the night the week just gone. But now it's about him not looking at survival. He's got to look forward, try and get more points, and then shoot for that top four. No,
definitely. As we said, a lot of people predicted him to struggle, but he's almost gone out with the attitude to stick one up at the critics almost. He's like, you can see he's charged, like turbocharged almost, more than he ever has been on TV.
Yeah, don't give dart players too much motivation from an angry perspective, because they're going to shoot you in the eye. They really are. Sharpshooters always find a way. I like to say that to people, because Simon Whitlock his whole career has said, don't bat against me, because I am ready to actually prove you wrong. And when he was included in this, however you feel about it, the thing is, he's proved everybody wrong, and he's had a great start to this campaign, and there's no reason why he can't go even further in it.
No, definitely agreed. The world champion Rob Cross set tongues wagging after 2 weeks, after two mediocre performances and getting beaten. The old Twitter campaigns was on, flash in the pan, one hit wonder. We heard it all. Since then, we've seen the true Rob Cross again, and he's back up to second and third, looking at an absolute dream again.
It was almost like a running joke, wasn't it? Because Rob Cross, obviously, after a couple of weeks, had just said, well, he's finished, isn't he? He's had his year. He's probably going to go down the rankings in the next couple of years, and we'll never hear from him again. The thing is, he knew what was wrong. He went away and he said, you know what, all I need is just this media stuff, just to leave me alone a little bit more every week. It's not going to go away. He understood that. But what he wanted was to have more time on the dartboard, so he could have that work ethic that he had last year and the previous year to that, to put him in the position that he's in. Once he got the time on the board, he started getting to a final on the Pro Tour again, and his Premier League form, especially last week, was absolutely sensational. And he's back where he belongs now, and he feels comfortable where he is in his first Premier League campaign, which is very, very impressive.
No, definitely. And at the bottom, it's interesting as well. I've got Daryl Gurney just above the drop zone on 4 points, yet to win a game, king of the draws at the moment.
Hey, that's going to stick with him until he wins one, because he really is just eking out some ugly draws and games that he probably should have won. The game with Whitlock was brilliant in my opinion. It was real drama, but Gurney's got to be able to cross that line. He's got to turn those 6-6s into 7-5s or 7-4s. He's got to go over that line really quickly, otherwise it's going to plague him. But Daryl Gurney's not in the drop zone right now, and if he keeps drawing, he's not going to be in the drop zone if other people are losing. I
say it's weird. You see him on TV, he almost gets to 6 himself, and his mind just freezes. You can see him on stage go, "Oh, I haven't won a game yet," and just getting over that line is massive.
Of course it is. Just the first time, you know, when you play a Pro Tour game, for instance, for the first time, someone who hasn't got that experience, I've got to win this leg to get my first win. And at Premier League, that's enhanced by probably 100 times. So now, when he gets over that line, 'cause I feel he will, it will almost open the floodgates to him getting more points. And I see Daryl getting a win in the next couple of weeks for sure.
One surprising participant in the bottom two is Peter Wright. I don't think any of us saw that at the start of the season.
Yeah, very, very unusual for me. There have been some changes in his game. He's changed his darts a few times, which we're accustomed to, so we can't really use that as an excuse. He can throw anything if he wants. But there's been changes in his shoes. We've talked about the fact that he always wears these really smart leather-based shoes, which have a little bit of a slip in them on the carpet, but he was wearing trainers the last couple of weeks, which don't have any give in them. Yes, they're very comfortable, but they'll be a different height as well. And small adjustments in darts can make a big, big difference. I don't know whether there is a rumour of injury problems with Peter. I don't know what's going on in the background. I don't like to pry in these guys' lives, but you can see that everything's not where it wants to be. Is Peter Wright tired? Is everything catching up with him after he had illness at the back of last year? We don't know. All I can say is that, you know, from the bottom of my heart, and everybody wants him to play well and be exuberant. We just want to see him smiling and playing brilliantly, but at the moment it just doesn't seem to be happening for him.
No, definitely, because he's one of these players that plays in absolutely everything, and maybe it's time to pick and choose a little bit more, like Michael has done so far this year.
Yeah, Michael's already had a couple of breaks. He knows that he can't play every week to the standard that he does, so he has to have that week off, go and see the family, refresh his head as well as refresh his body, because, you know, being someone who plays on the Pro Tour, you get a sore shoulder, you get a sore elbow from throwing a lot of darts over the course of hours. And when Peter Wright doesn't miss tournaments, he's finding it, I think, emotionally draining, being everywhere and being present everywhere. He's not going to miss a European Tour event because he loves them too much. I think he's got to do what Michael does and maybe take the odd weekend off. And let's not forget, he's going to do World Series as well, and he's going to have more air miles than Richard Branson. So yeah. I think constructive breaks are going to be key to whether Peter Wright gets to where he wants to be again this year.
Ironically though, the one game he has won was against Michael, of all people.
Yeah, I mean, what a game that was. You know, the 170 finish from Michael, you thought, well, he's got this now. Then Peter Wright came back with great scoring. But let's not forget, Peter Wright's game against Gary Anderson in Berlin probably just shades that one. That was the game of this season. It had everything, had a scoring, big finishes. And obviously, Peter and Gary, I don't think they're on each other's Christmas card list, so they had a little bit of extra spice. And it was the end game of the Berlin Premier League, which was the biggest one we've ever seen.
Yeah.
It just had everything. And if we have more games like that, Unibet Premier League is going to be brilliant.
No, definitely. Obviously, bottom of the pile is Gerwyn Price, who's had a bit of a meltdown this week as well on social media. I actually feel for Price a little bit because he hasn't played as bad as what those results suggest, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm a big fan of Gezi. I think the aggression and the kind of brand of darts that he's trying to bring to the game is sorely needed. And there are too many people frowning upon the way he plays darts. Just get on with it when you play him. You know he's going to be aggressive. And you know, when Peter Wright started doing his dancing, everybody thought it was a bit strange. Well, now it's commonplace. The thing is, Gerwyn Price has been around for 4 years now, so what he does is commonplace. So everybody should just get used to it. If you can't handle his aggression, well, that's your own problem. But Gezi, in my opinion, has got to be maintaining that aggression in the Premier League, because if he starts wilting a little bit with his aggression, his game does tend to slip. Does he have the standard to live with the MVGs and the Rob Crosses in that high 100 level? Yes, he can, but he does it in very small bits. And I think he understands the concept of, right, I've got to find that extra level and I've got to do it consistently. Otherwise, unfortunately, he probably will be cut adrift.
No, definitely. Obviously, he had a meltdown on social media as well over the weekend. I think tiredness is playing a massive part in this. The debutants don't know what the roadshow of the Premier League is like, and I think that's now showing on a few.
Yeah, I can't say it from personal experience because I've never played in the Premier League, but I've travelled a lot with it, and that's hard enough. To actually have the pressure of playing as well, I can't imagine what it's like. But advice to a lot of these guys who do get frustrated when they lose or have bad weekends, sometimes you just got to stay away from your phone for a few hours.
Yeah.
I know from experience. Gezi is the kind of guy who's very honest, and we love him for it sometimes, but it is to his own detriment sometimes, and maybe sometimes just have a little bit of a break from social media, just to give himself a chance to breathe might be a prudent thing to do.
Definitely. A weird thing for me in the Premier League this year is looking at the table that somehow Barney has more points than Gary Anderson. I can't quite get my head around this, because if you look at the way they've both played, Anderson's been stellar at times, and Barney's been just chugging along and stuttering, yet he's above Anderson.
Basically doing a Barney. Just plodding along, going under the radar. But I was thinking about this last week when I was looking at the table, and Gary's only got 4 points and Raymond's got 5. And it didn't feel like Gary had 4 points. It felt, because of the way he's played, it felt like he had a lot more than that. And it didn't feel like Raymond had 5. It felt very strange, but like I said before, the table doesn't lie when it comes to Premier League.
No,
it'd be interesting to see where they lie coming to Judgment Night, but Gary can take heart knowing that he's played really, really well this season, even though he's had injury problems, which, you know, when I've got a back problem, I'm definitely going to call him for that osteopath's number. But he can take heart in the fact that he's played really well, and that the results will come with Gary because he's scoring out of his boots. Yeah,
so the last couple of weeks he's literally burgled 6-all draws off of opponents with ball finishes and...
Oh, I'm stealing that word, by the way. Burgling points, that's definitely hashtag that one. But he's nicking points that maybe he shouldn't have had, but he's also lost points that he should have had, so these things have a way of evening out when you're playing well.
I say we touched on it as well. We lost Exeter due to the beast from the east, which was disappointing, but mastermind from the PDC, we've now got a Rotterdam double-header to look forward to. Unbelievable, because Rotterdam for me it looks amazing, it sounds amazing, so it's just great marketing, I think, to put it in there on the Wednesday.
I think that the PDC have been quite smart in respect of what to do, because they didn't want to rob the fans at home of a night of Premier League darts, because obviously Exeter wasn't on that Thursday night. I do feel for the people in the southwest. They do get Minehead twice a year, so they don't get a barren period of darts. So they get the UK Open. Obviously, the fans couldn't go this year, but they do have the Players' Championship finals to look forward to in November. As far as Rotterdam's concerned, having 2 nights of Premier League darts in a row will be interesting to see how that goes. But I'm a big advocate for having the orange on the Thursday night. The whole crowd of orange. But maybe do a different colour on the Wednesday. Because there are 3 colours in the Dutch flag, isn't it?
There is.
So why not have the blue on the Wednesday and the orange on the Thursday? But it's great for Barney, it's great for Michael, because they're close to home. But it's what I like to call Barney Appreciation Night, and there's going to be 2 of them, so he's going to be loving that.
No, definitely. You touched on Minehead being cancelled as well. That from just changing the subject a little bit, from a player, was that a strange weekend to play in a major that didn't feel like one?
It was like the Twilight Zone. It was very strange. I've played at Minehead many times in all of the different rooms. I was really looking forward to playing on the main stage, but obviously for health and safety reasons they couldn't do that. But being in that really cold atmosphere, it was very, very unusual. I've never played in an atmosphere like it, and I almost hope that I never do again. John Part was almost comedy-like in his description of it, saying it was like playing in the Twilight Zone. I think he said it was like playing in The Shining, which it's a little bit dark, but that's John, he's very descriptive. But he had a great week, and I didn't have a bad week. It was nice to get some ranking points, but ultimately I missed an opportunity to play on a big stage, which was sad, but I felt for the fans. Lots of people looking forward to going, lots of people looking forward to watching big time darts, and lots of crowds on TV, and ultimately we had a tournament, but it did lack the crowd participation, and we missed that.
No, definitely. Obviously, going back to the Unibet Premier League, you've been covering it for TalkSport on the radio, and across social media, darts on the radio has had an absolute unbelievable response. We are so thrilled. I mean, I feel so lucky that TalkSport have got myself and Chris Mason, Jim Proudfoot, John Rowling involved, and our presenter Ian Danter as the king of the impressions. I mean, you should hear his Nigel Pearson impression. Of course, Nigel's joining us too. It's such a privilege to be able to do this, because we had such a great time doing it at the World Championships. We were nominated for a couple of awards, narrowly missed out on a Sports Journalism Award to the Anthony Joshua coverage on BBC Radio 5 Live, but we are thrilled with the project, where it's going, and the potential for doing more darts in the future, because the viewing figures are good. We
maybe doing more, but ultimately that's up to the big cheeses at TalkSport.
I'm not going to lie, I have Sky on the TV and I have the 5 Live commentary over the TV coverage because I find it so much better.
Well, I'm not gonna go down that route because I don't want to bag the guys at Sky. They're doing a great job. It's nice to have a choice though, because we're not everybody's cup of tea. I'm sure the same with the Sky boys. If you've got a choice, great. You can tune into whatever you want. But we're thrilled with what we're doing, and we just hope everybody's enjoying the coverage. This week, the Premier League moves on to the Hydro in Glasgow, which is going to be a cauldron of noise up there, like it always is. Yeah. I have memories of Adrian Lewis getting a pint chucked over him and stuff like that. Gary feeling rather embarrassed. So something's bound to happen, like it always does in Scotland. But first up, we've got Gurney against Sulevic, which is a must-win for both almost. I think it's a very good game because Sulevic last week he wasn't feeling very well. I spoke to somebody who was very close to him, and they said that he was feeling a bit fluey and a bit cold-ridden. So. Hopefully Mensa's feeling better for Glasgow because it is a raucous atmosphere. Gurney giving it to the crowd in Nottingham, I love a bit of that. But he needs to break those draws. I think this could be a very, very key game for Gurney because he's going to have to lift his level. He threw some darts last week that will trouble Sulevic if he brings them. But it's a question of whether he brings them. And Gurney's a very dangerous customer when he's hitting 180s. He's got to start well and keep that lead. And if he doesn't, Sulevic will punish him because he can throw that 106 to 110 in his sleep. Obviously, you touched on it, his reaction to the crowd in a couple of weeks. You've been in the same boat as him. Is that a good thing or a bad thing, his reaction at times this year? Depends how he feels about it. With me, when I was giving it back to them, it was just anger. And then when they'd give it back to me, I'd get upset. I couldn't handle it. And I put my hands up and said, right, I can't handle this, I'm going to stop doing it. If he can handle it, it's great entertainment. But it depends how Daryl feels. Second game on, it's the battle of the top two. We've got MVG against Michael Smith. Now, this will be played at a ridiculous pace. Rat-tat-tat-dart almost. Well, if you're watching it, you might have to watch this on slow motion just to actually realise what's going on. They never seem to disappoint us. They've had a couple of games this year already on the Pro Tour where they've had 2 ridiculous 120 finishes on bull. So I want to see more of that. But I go back to a game they played in Austria last year in the final, which is one of my favourite games I've ever watched. I want more games like that. Close, fast, lots of 180s, lots of big finishes. And because they're top of the table, I think we might get it. No, agreed. MVG to nick it? Currently on form, I'm going to give Michael a 7-4. 7-4, nice. Yeah. The game of the night in the Premier spot, as they call it, is Gary Anderson against Simon Whitlock, the homecoming, as they call it. Yeah, well, he's not even from Glasgow. No, I know I keep going on about this, but he's from Eyemouth, which is near Edinburgh. Yeah. It's like saying I'm from Middlesbrough, which is not the case. But having Gary in Scotland, it is special because the crowd really do lift themselves for that, and rightly so. The game against Simon, I almost feel sorry for Whitlock having to play Gary in Scotland. But Simon has not played his best darts the last couple of weeks. He knows he's going to have to lift it against Gary, someone who's won a major this year already. But you can't see anything else but a Gary win, really. No, agreed. I think Anderson's power scoring will just be too much for Simon, if I'm being honest. All Gary's got to do against Simon is get 1 dart in front, and that 1 dart is usually a treble 20. So that's why we say Gary is a winner there. Agreed. Next on, we've got Peter Wright against Raymond van Barneveld. Again, Barney's got a connection with the Scottish fans, as we've seen in years as well. So even though Wright is technically the home one in this, I think it might be the other way. Yeah, there's a lot of questions about this game. Obviously, Raymond has chosen not to play Pro Tour in Milton Keynes, so you would think he'd be a little bit more rested. I like the way Raymond's game is going. He doesn't seem to be frightened of anybody. He always seems to be quite motivated, and he's got that eye of the tiger at the Premier League every Thursday. With Peter, there are questions, so it'll be interesting to see where he's at come this Premier League. But this almost is a 2-point game for Peter Wright. Otherwise, he's got danger of being cut adrift, just like Geraint Price is getting. Were you surprised Peter played at the weekend in Milton Keynes? Absolutely. I thought it was the perfect opportunity for him to say, you know what, I need a couple of days off, go home, sit with the family, watch a few films, let my mind just come down a little bit. And I think he had a couple of early exits at the weekend as well. Yeah. So I think there's an opportunity being missed there for him to take a break and reset himself, get himself in his practice room at home and just do things on his own terms. And it was cold in Milton Keynes as well. So to have that added to your schedule is not a good thing. It's one of the reasons why I think Bonneville might win.
I agree. I think Barney will nick this one. Last game of the night, Rob Cross against Gerwyn Price. Again, this is almost must win, isn't it now for Price?
Yes, it is, and it couldn't come at a worse time to play Rob Cross, because the way he played last week, he was superfluous. Oh, just looking at the screen thinking he's just not going to miss.
106 average and just battered everything.
He made it look easy though. You look at certain guys through history, like Taylor when he was averaging 100 and it looked like a 90. Van Gerwen averaging 110 and making it look like 100. Averaging 120 and making it look like 105. These guys make it look really, really easy. And Rob Cross will be licking his chops at this game, because anything that Gerwyn does won't bother him. He'll just get up there and give it back. And Rob Cross is now a Premier League certainty for the next few years if he keeps playing like this. And he will love the fact he's going to play in front of the Scottish crowd, who are going to give lots of noise, because he's used to it now.
No, definitely. I'm going to put you on the spot here now. We know who's done what, who finishes in the top 4 and who gets relegated.
I think Gerwyn Price will go. Unfortunately, it's sad for me, because I'm a big fan of the guy. I really am. As for who else is going to be cut adrift, it's going to be tight. It'll be between Peter Wright and Gurney, but it depends on how Peter feels the next few weeks. He's got the ability to really rebound if he can put things right. If Daryl Gurney doesn't get a win in the next 2 weeks, I feel he might get dragged into it. Top 4, MVG, Rob Cross, Gary Anderson, Michael Smith.
Nice. That'd be an unbelievable night at the O2.
Yeah, it wouldn't be bad, would it?
That was the final 4. That'd be an unbelievable night at the O2.
Yeah.
Well, thanks guys. That's our Unibet Premier League review so far.
Here are my best bets for Week 7 of the Unibet Premier League. Daryl Gurney v Mensa Sulovic. Gurney, most 180s. Michael Van Gerwen v Michael Smith, over 10.5 legs. Gary Anderson v Simon Whitlock, Anderson to win. Peter Wright v Raymond van Barneveld, Raymond van Barneveld, plus 2.5 legs handicap. And finally, Rob Cross v Gerwyn Price, Cross to win. And for this week's Daniella's double, Michael Van Gerwen and Raymond van Barneveld to win.